If you're a real estate agent and your seller doesn't want to offer the buyer agency compensation and you're not sure what to do, what to say to the seller and to the buyer's agents that are calling and asking you for the compensation, and you're not sure what am I going to say to them, and you are afraid of these conversations with buyer's agents, this video is going to break it down, and I'm going to show you and explain to you exactly what you need to do so you're not afraid anymore. So first of all, you have to understand this. It's a seller's decision how much, if any, they're going to pay to the buyer's agents. It's not your decision, and you're out of the picture. Your job is to explain the benefits to the seller, whether they need or not, and what is the pluses and the minuses of offering the compensation to the buyer's agents. I usually try to pull some comps and show the numbers. That works great to show the value. And also, you have to remember that it's their right, and it's a lot of money sometimes. And they are interested in paying less, and a lot of them will choose to pay less. Some buyers cannot buy and pay for their agent. So that could hurt those sellers that are not going to be paying for the buyer's agents. Your job only to communicate that. You're not advocating for any of the sides. You're just communicating the benefits and the cons, the pros and cons of offering the compensation or not offering the compensation. Some buyers just can't buy, and you could be just helping the other seller to sell because that other seller decides to offer some of the compensation to the buyer's agent, and you, Mr. Seller, decide not to. And so that's why some buyers can't buy a house because they don't have the money. So they're going to buy some other houses. And if it's me on the buyer's side, let's say I'm the buyer's agent and I have the buyer, I'm going to explain to the buyer who has no money, I'm going to say, look, if you don't want to pull your money out of your pocket and pay for the commission, we are going to put an offer on the house. And if that house doesn't pay, we move on. We buy another house. So those are the conversations that the buyer's agents will have with their buyers. And you, Mr. Seller, need to understand that those are conversations that are happening. So based on that, what do you think? That is your conversation with the seller. You show the value and why is a good idea to offer the buyer agency compensation. And if they don't want to do that, then you just accept that and you ask them, how would you like me to communicate that to the buyer's agents that are calling? And your seller might say, just tell them that they can submit an offer and we will look at the price and terms and we make a decision. You don't have to disclose what I'm offering. And you can do that. You don't have to. You could say that, and a lot of listing agents that are experienced and trained right now, this is how exactly what they do. And if you're going to call some couple listings and ask for compensation, you're going to find out that most of them are going to say, submit it with the offer and we will look at the offers and make a decision. And that's going to be your conversation with all the buyer's agents. And if there's agents that you communicating, unfortunately, the seller is not offering any compensation. And if you feel any complaints, and if you think that there's going to be some tough conversations that you're going to have, you now can just tell that those buyer's agents that are complaining, say, it's the seller's decision. There's nothing I can do. It's their right to do that. And you shouldn't feel any embarrassment or anything like that, that it's your decision and it's you who influences that decision. All you have to do is just explain the benefits of offering and what could be the results of offering or not offering the buyer's agent compensation, but it's a seller's decision. Did you just get a real estate license and you work for the company that's not very supportive? You don't feel like they have your back? They never have time for you? You feel like you're on your own? Don't tell nobody. We're hosting a career night, August 10, 6:30 p.m. This is where you're going to meet top producers, learn, and network. This event could turn your career around. Don't miss it. Reserve your spot. And the buyer agents also know that they could be asking and explaining to the buyers, let's still write an offer and ask for that commission to be covered. And if not, then you, Mr. Buyer, decide, or Mrs. Buyer, decide what you want to do, whether to buy that house or not. And that's it. There's really no tough conversations that you're going to have with the other side. Maybe you're feeling that right now because I've just read a couple of messages from the listing agent and the seller between themselves, messages where the listing agent is pushing the seller to offer the compensation. And the listing agent says that she feels embarrassed because she has tough conversations with buyers brokers. They're making an offer and then they're withdrawing an offer as soon as they hear that there's no compensation. We have to raise the price and offer something because she can't have these conversations. And it's just pushing through. First of all, it's through text messages, which is already wrong. You can't sell anything through text messages. Everything has to be through the conversations first. Second, you don't really have to communicate what the seller offers. You can just say send an offer and we'll look at the price and terms. You can just keep it at that, and then everything else is then easy. Pushing the seller and explaining the seller that they have to do it, they don't have to. First of all, this is wrong and they should fire the listing agent at that moment. I'm not sure what kind of agreement is cancelable or not cancelable, but this is wrong for the listing agent to communicate. It's not professional. You're not trained. You're not trained on how to communicate with your seller, and you're not trained how to communicate with the buyer's agents that are making calls. You say it's embarrassing. Those are tough conversations to have, and a lot of agents aren't used to changes, and they don't want these changes. That's what was in the text messages. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, it is what it is. Seller's not offering buyer's agent compensation. What do you want? Get it from the buyer or submit it in an offer. And if it doesn't work out, raise the price and submit it in an offer. And if it doesn't work out, move on. What's there to talk about? There's nothing to talk about. So that's why I wanted to make a video for those of you who are not sure what to talk about with the seller and how to communicate that value of offering the compensation. But also, even if they don't, no big deal. You just tell the other side that, submit it with an offer. And it's like, it's like what it was before. Asking price $350, offers $330. Is there a deal? No, there's no deal yet. Same thing over here. You ask for a compensation, but you submit a full ask. The seller's not happy with that. They don't accept it. Then you either raise the price or get rid of your compensation. It's negotiations. It's the same thing as it was before. The only thing you have to remember as an agent who represents the seller is that it's the seller's decision. Your job is to explain why it could hurt the seller or why the seller could win doing that. That's all you have to do. And then just properly communicate that to the other side, which is, if you're on the seller side, you should probably just say, submit it with the price and terms, and we'll look at it and we'll make a decision. You don't have to disclose, this is this much, how much we're offering. Because, here's why. What if the buyer and the buyer's agent have an agreement for less? What if they have an agreement for less? They agreed on much less. Now you're offering them more than they agreed to. Then the buyer's agent can't accept it. He or she has to go back to the buyer and then disclose that, communicate how they're going to distribute that. They're going to amend their agreement, come back to you and accept that. What if you just say, we're open, and they submit the offer with lower than you agreed with the seller, and your listing agreement says that if that comes lower than you agreed with the seller pays less, what the buyer's agent is asking. So then you just made your seller money by doing what I just explained to you to do. This is how you handle these situations, and don't overthink it. Everything is easy. Make sure you're watching enough content and get yourself educated and trained. Make sure you're associated with a company that has a lot of trainings. We here have trainings 4 times a week. 4 times a week. We already had 10 meetings on this topic. And I hope that you become trained as soon as possible, and don't just wait and don't just see what happens, because you could be costing your clients money. Either it's the seller or the buyer. Put your comments and questions below. I would like to see them, and I hope to hear and see you soon. Thanks so much for watching.